What's up everyone, this is Minnie here, and today I'm bringing you my recommendations for the Silver League battles of Ranked Season 4 in World of Warships. Quick reminder before we get into that, do not forget to make sure you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the content. As a reminder before we get started, this is not a complete list of every best ship you can take. These are some of my personal favorites as well as some of the ones that I expect we'll see in the Silver League ranked battles. Beyond that, a reminder, as I always say, I think you're better off playing a ship you are comfortable and confident in rather than trying to play a top tier ship you've never played before. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So I want to start off today, as usual, with the CVs. Now at tier 8, I find that most of the CVs honestly are going to work, but your three best bets are going to be probably the Kaga, the Enterprise, and the Shikaku. Now, starting with the Kaga is the Japanese tier 8 premium CV. And the Kaga comes with the standard rockets as well as a 4 torpedo drop and a 4 bomb drop. But where it really gets its advantage is the fact that if you look at the numbers, 26 aircraft, 38 torpedo bombers, and 38 regular bombers on the deck. So you are not going to run out of planes unless you are really unlucky or really demonstrating a lack of care, being careful with your planes. Additionally, the bombs and the torpedoes are very effective at hitting, and because you send out 12 at a time, you can usually get 2 runs off. You're also going to be looking at the Japanese tech tree tier 8, which is the Shikaku. This one comes in with, once again, standard attack aircraft. It's got the 2 fast torpedo bombers, which drop a 7,200 damage torpedo, which means that those things are going to smash battleships, cruisers, and if you're lucky enough to get one on them, the destroyers. Additionally, comes with the AP bombers, and you're dropping 3 6,200 damage AP bombs. So on the cruisers or battleships that you manage to hit with those, if you sit at them, you're chunking off anywhere from 6 to 18k per go. The other CV I'd highly recommend is the Enterprise. Now, the Enterprise does feel a little weaker now than it used to because of the fact of the rocket change. So its rockets take longer to hit, which was its strongest ability, was just its ability to absolutely devastate destroyers. However, it still has 3 strong torpedoes that it drops, dealing a little bit more potential damage overall than the Shikaku, though in reality it's going to be about similar, as well as having AP dive bombers that drop 4,900 damage bombs. Are you going to get 6 4,900 damage hits when you drop on something? No, but they can do some real nice work. Moving on, let's talk about battleships. Now, at the battleship level of tier 8, there's a lot of strong picks. First is going to be your typical Russian picks. So in the Russian lines, you can take both the tech tree and the premium battleship. Both of these battleships tank very well. They've got nice guns here coming in with the 3x3 406 millimeters. The big difference on where the gun placements is of course the Vladdy has one on the back, 2 in the front, while the Lenin puts all 3 in the front. They do suffer, of course, from the fact that they are Russian, so they have a lower overall range, but the ability to tank in both of those gives them a strong ability to be used in ranked battles. Borodino's not a bad pick either. It's not nearly as tanky and you lose out on some guns, but having a 12-kilometer radar on a battleship is always an interesting choice. The other battleships I would recommend, 2 of them come from the US line. You've got the standard US original battleship line, which is the North Carolina. Once again, a 3x3 set of 406 millimeters. Has what I find to be a nice dispersion as well as semi-decent secondaries with the depth charges, as well as a strong AA defense to protect it. The Massachusetts is going to be something that's going to be very strong in my opinion because you've got those 11-kilometer secondaries along with, once again, the 406 millimeter guns, and just comparing this 18.3 kilometer range to the Russian range makes it a good choice. The final battleship I expect to see a decent portion of people playing is the Tirpitz. Tirpitz comes in with less guns and a smaller caliber, but once again, you have those secondaries, and with the secondary rework, I find those to be rather viable, as well as the fact that the Tirpitz boasts the ability to put on the torpedoes that you can use when you get into brawling range, which makes it viable, in my opinion, to be played. Now, with cruisers, before I talk about cruisers, one thing you especially want to be looking for on cruisers and destroyers is making sure that they are cruisers that have anti-submarine warfare, or depth charges if you prefer, equipped. You can get away, and some of the cruisers I recommend don't have the depth charges, but depth charges really do make a significant difference because of the fact that there's going to be a point inevitably where you're probably going to engage a submarine. And if you get him on the surface, great, you can hurt him there. But if you don't, you're going to really want those depth charges to be able to deal with him. So on the cruisers, you do have a lot of choices. Now, the other thing I will say is if you don't have the depth charges, or even if you do, the other thing you want to look for is having that radar or having that hydroacoustic search to give you your balance. My first recommendation that I'm going to see is one that has been seen quite a lot in ranked battles whenever there's been a tier 8 season, which is of course the Atago, the Japanese premium cruiser, boasting the 5x2 203mm guns. Even with a 16-second reload, this thing packs a punch. 17% chance of HE shells causing a fire means you're going to be burning stuff. Additionally, it comes loaded with 4 torpedo racks, which have 10-kilometer range, which make them quite nice to be able to fight off DDs, as well as do cap denial and deal with battleships. One thing you have to be careful of, this one does not have the anti-submarine warfare, but you do have the hydroacoustic search, which I would recommend taking with you over having the DFAA. The next cruisers that I would recommend would be both of the United States tech tree cruisers at tier 8, the Cleveland and the Baltimore. Cleveland being the light cruiser, Baltimore of course being the heavy cruiser. They both pack a good punch of damage and are really enjoyable in my opinion to play. Additionally, the Cleveland has a 9-kilometer radar and the Baltimore has a 10-kilometer radar, which does put them in a strong position to find and deal with enemy ships. One thing you're going to have to watch is, once again, that lack of anti-submarine warfare. You have the hydro to help, but you don't have anti-submarine warfare depth charges to deal with. One of the strongest picks, though, I think, will be the Chapayev, which is the tier 8 Russian light cruiser. And the reason the Chapayev is going to be so good is that with mods, you can get its concealment down into the low 10s. And it's got a 12-kilometer radar. And so a 12-kilometer radar is going to give it a beautiful stealth radar chance, which enables you, using the Chapayev, to be able to safely engage DDs as well as spot for your team. My last 2 recommendations for cruisers are going to be the Mines and the Amalfi. So for the Mines is once again a premium tier 8 German cruiser, which has the advantage of it has depth charges, torpedoes, as well as the 150mm guns with a 6-second reload and 12 of them to put out damage at a rapid rate. If you play the Mines right, it can be easily chunked down with 42,000 health if you get broadsided by a battleship. But you play this right, this thing will shred the enemy team. And finally, on the tech tree side, I really think the Amalfi is going to be strong here. Tier 8 Italian. With the 3x3 203mm guns, you're getting the 9 shots. You have the depth charges, the torpedoes, as well as the ability to use the smoke to try to disengage, which will be a huge help for you in fights in ranked. Finally, at the DD level, I feel like DD has the biggest amount of choices that you can take successfully for ranked. First off, as always, with DDs, you have the ability where you're going to be primarily taking the cap, you're going to be engaging the other destroyers, and your best place to deal with subs. So I cannot recommend destroyers enough. My first recommendation for destroyers is the Kid. The Kid is going to be very strong because it's got the 5x1 guns with a 3.3 second reload pre-commander, but it also has the torpedoes, which are okay for denying cap, but it has a very strong depth charge with the 10 bombs in a charge that are dealing 3,600 maximum damage, so it's a really good denial. It also shines in having a very strong AA defense that will make planes regret coming near it if they're not careful. Next up after the Kid is the Japanese tech tree, which is the Akazuki. This is the Japanese gunboat line. The Akazuki is probably pound for pound the best brawler you're gonna get at tier 8. In terms of guns, Akazuki is personally probably my favorite of the Akazuki Kitakaze Harugamo line, with the 4x2 guns with the 3-second reload. Once again, strong set of depth charges, good concealment once you get the commander skills and modules onto it. But all in all, I see the Akazuki continuing to be one of the ones you'll see the most. The Kagero, which is this Torp line for the Japanese DDs, also will be strong because of the fact it boasts a 5.4 detection with upgrades, which is the lowest in game. So you're going to be able to be spotting enemy DDs without being spotted, and when you spot them, you have the ability to drop the 2x4 set of torpedoes on them to challenge them. Another strong choice comes out of the UK line and is their premium, the Cossack or the Cossack B. Guns are strong, 5-second reload on the 4x2s, but a slightly larger caliber than you're seeing on the Akazuki. Less torps, but once again, good depth charges. The smokes make it really strong, and it's got a very, very low concealment that can almost challenge the Kagero. If you're looking for a little bit more firepower and you don't like the Akazuki, I expect we'll see quite a lot of Merkers. Again, we saw a lot of those last time it was tier 8, and with the fact that it's got the good AP, as well as the decent range, the sets of torps, the depth charges, and the concealment that's not so great, but it can fight and brawl with that AP, I expect to see a lot of people either grinding their Merkers or taking back out because they really enjoyed it. My final recommendation, just as a throw in there in case you're looking for something still a little different, you can't go wrong really with French DDs. You still get that ability on the French DDs. You have good racks of torpedo tubes, as well as decent gun batteries, a little bit longer reload, but once again, you see that we've gone up a little bit in caliber from what we were seeing on some of the other ships. But remember, as always, the French DDs have the damage saturation effect, which enables them to take more damage. And for the Lefant, of course, while you don't have a smoke, you have the main battery reload booster, which means you can challenge that DD and win in a knockdown fight quickly. Now, before I forget, of course, subs. On my ranked video for bronze, I said we'd have to see how subs played out before I could evaluate whether they would be a good choice or not. My encouragement is, if you're comfortable in subs, yes, 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 take the subs. The subs are really strong right now. I'm seeing people just absolutely dominate in subs once you figure out how to use them, and the tier 8s are only going to be better than the tier 6s. So if you have a chance to take out the tier 8 subs in ranked battles, I recommend it. Anyway, that's all I got today. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button down below to help me keep making this content, and leave me a comment, your thoughts. What do you think is going to be strong? What are you taking out? What did you have success in? I always like to take a look back, and as we come back to tier 8 in future seasons, evaluate and see what people were saying worked for them. Anyway, that's all for today, and this is Minnie signing off.